Hi everybody, welcome and congratulations on your decision to purchase the masterclass on MD referral traffic. My name is Christian, I'm the creator of this material. This is my best stuff, working with doctors, traveling, speaking in hospitals, working across a very wide bandwidth of different specialists in mainstream medicine and at many different locations, from North, Central, and South America all the way to the Middle East, and all across North America in several different medical centers with different doctors who have mentored me along the way. I'm taking the best of what I learned, I put it into this training program, and you get just a ton of great value in this. So let me just run through the modules quickly. First of all, on module number 1 is the main dish. What you're going to see when you click on the tab for module 1 is the main video template. This is my 51 or so minutes talking to a coaching client and coaching him through how he should do his talk. Okay, this is way more detail than you will ever need. And please hear me when I say this. You will never need to share this much in a single visit with doctors. The idea here is that you have material actually for 3 or 4 talks, but that you cut this down until you get it to a size where, and believe it or not, and I hope this actually does blow your mind, you only need to talk for about 15 to 20 minutes the first time you meet with a group of doctors. The reason why you don't need that much to say is, number 1, you will get bogged down. So you got to figure out what the main points you want to address and really nail them hard. And number 2, the rest of the time, I'm assuming you're doing an hour, say, grand rounds. Usually that's about the time slot they give you. And it's as much as you're ever going to get out of doctors the first time you meet with them anyway, especially if you're calling a major medical center like I've done in the past. And don't think that that's hard to do. I walk you through how I got my gig at Cleveland Clinic, talking at Mercy Hospital all those years, and doing the other gigs that I've done. I'm filming this in Central America. The hospital where I began is right across the lake in Santiago de Atitlan. That was 2008. Everywhere I've gone, I've done a presentation, and it's resulted in me getting hired by a hospital. You can't have a better record than 100%. I'm batting 1,000, so to speak. But understand that's partly because I am a very polished speaker when I get up in front of these people, and I'm sharing my very best stuff that you can just steal and copy on your own. But also understand, once you get in front of people, once you have a chance to talk to them, if you just make a couple key points without falling down on your face or saying something so obviously ignorant, believe me, you're going to end up being successful as well. I'm coaching you through how to avoid saying anything ignorant. When you focus on the points that they care about, you're absolutely guaranteed to succeed. There's so much need for this that in addition to your talk, again, you're going to do about a 15 to 20 minute total amount of speaking. The rest will be Q&A and the all-important demo. Obviously, in a membership site training program like this, I can't teach you how to needle correctly. For a lot of people, this is a big weakness. Okay, if your Achilles heel is that you don't know how to achieve that needle response, the chi response, you need to get good at that. All right, because for doctors, this is a black and white affair. You either know how to create a needle response, which convinces them that acupuncture is legitimate and that it really does something, or you do not know how to achieve a needle response, in which case you need to get better at needling before you're going to go in front of doctors. I can't teach that through a member site or through a video training program like this, but I do teach it when I do my boot camps and live trainings, and I coach students on how to really get good at needling without being painful and sharp and all the rest. This is just needle technique that you should have gotten in school that a lot of people just didn't. If you're anxious about it, if you're embarrassed about it, if you're upset because, gee, I'm not sure that I'm actually that good a needler, don't worry about it. For a lot of people, this is a big elephant in the living room, but don't be ashamed. Do something about it, right? Get really good. The first thing to do, obviously, is needle yourself until it's just old hat, and it's very easy to achieve the chi sensation. But understand, with doctors, there's no faking it, and there's absolutely no question that if you can't do this, they don't care how good you talk. You can do the best speech in the world, and if you can't do a demonstration where they go, whoa, I felt something that I've never felt before, and wow, isn't that odd? You go, yeah, that's right, that's what acupuncture does, and now you understand all the things that I'm talking about from my actual presentation, again, about how this sensation is tied to downregulation of the ANS, re-regulation of brain chemistry, etc., 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 the downregulating of autoimmune conditions, and on and on and on. They will have something physical, tangible, experiential to put with their intellectual understanding and the explanation that you've just done. Okay, so I hope this is clear, because what I'm giving you is about an hour to 3 hours of material that you could talk about, and you only need to get about 15 to 20 minutes of that out. Believe me, they'll glaze over. You can't talk for an entire hour. You need to keep this as brief as possible. So my advice is go through the video 3, 4, 5 times, take great notes, and then start crafting your own talk based on the points that you want to emphasize most. Give it in the mirror, put a video camera up like I'm doing now, and talk into the camera so that you know that you can roll this out smoothly and transition from one point to the next point to the next point, because when 20 minutes is up, you better have people on stage ready to demonstrate. I talk about this elsewhere, but the Cleveland Clinic gig for me in 2012 was a breakthrough. It was a breakthrough for them, by the way, too, because 2 months after I did that talk, we saw advertisements for a group community acupuncture style practice that they wanted to start at Cleveland Clinic, which is exactly what I had lectured to them about and what we had created in Mercy Hospital in Chicago. So they got it, okay? And when a trend-setting hospital like Cleveland Clinic gets it, you know the rest of the industry's coming and following. There are 6,000 hospitals in North America, give or take. Not even all of them are even close to having good acupuncture installed there. So it's your job to get busy. It's your job to stand up and be recognized. The two things you have to do are speak intelligently, and I'm covering that for you here. Again, this is way more firepower than you'll ever need for talking to doctors. But this is also part of your education that you should know about, that I know for a fact is not being taught in school the correct way, if it's being addressed at all. This is the latest research by Dr. Rafford. His analysis of, and the slides are created by my colleague, Dr. Rafford, that I've worked with now for almost 7, 8 years at the time of recording this video. And again, this is so much more ammunition than you will ever need when you're up in front of doctors. So you're going to have to decide which parts stay in and which parts you cut out. But the part that you cannot skip, that you cannot fake, is your demonstration. So just understand the 51-minute video will cover plenty. You'll have plenty enough to do. Below the video is a download for your slides. I have them in PDF form. You can recreate which portion of them you want. Give credit where and when you think it's due. Okay, a lot of the analysis is done from Dr. Rafford on meta-analyses and various research studies. I make this very clear in the video. Okay, give credit where it's due. That's always a smart thing in academia anyway. You'll save yourself a lot of hassles if you're not ripping people's material off. And he very generously allowed us to use this. And so module number 2 is titled Building Your Talk. It also has a very short clip where I'm describing what's in it. You'll see that when you get to that page. But the 2 downloads, the note on the grand rounds and conflict of interest. Understand that when you agree to do a grand rounds, if you're doing an official talk at a medical center like I was doing at Mercy and Cleveland Clinic and elsewhere, understand you're not allowed to sell your service. I talk about how you deal with this. I talk about how you get around this. If you do a great job and you've obviously demonstrated value, believe me, you don't need to sell hard. Okay? There is a time to sell hard, but academia is funny like this. They get very nervous. If you come in and start hawking your wares, they get very upset about that. So you have to understand how to address that issue without causing trouble for yourself, obviously, and blackening your name for having come and given the talk, no matter how valuable and good it was. You got to watch out for the actual overt selling thing. But it's not hard to get around, because once you've demonstrated value with your demonstration and your talk, believe me, they're going to seek you out. It's your job to make yourself available and follow up. There's nothing against and nothing wrong with following up with contacts that you make at such talks. Here also I have the download for transitioning to your close. Okay? If you're allowed to sell, you need to transition a certain way. Selling is a very legitimate occupation and a very important one, and especially for people in our profession, everybody thinks it's beneath them to learn how to market and sell, or that, gee, that's like a sleazeball thing to do. Wrong. You need to know how to transition the right way, and when you transition and when you move into, and so here's how I can help you best, doctors. Your whole focus should be on the value that you're providing. There's nobody ever complained because somebody made an obvious improvement in their lives by offering value. So there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. I have the notes on PDF. You'll see that when you get to module number 2. Module number 3 here is an article template. Why am I giving you a bonus article template? Because on paper you can see much more clearly. It's very, very clear the structure that I'm providing. This is another way for you to get, just like I'm giving you a video demonstration or video template demonstrating how you should set up your talk and the material and content that should be in it. On paper, the structure of the talk becomes very, very clear. It's very easy to understand. The article is on chronic pelvic pain. This was a little a brochure almost that I did, a very small piece of learning, teaching material that I put together. It's actually modeled after an article that I did for the Journal of American Medical Acupuncture, however it's titled, the major medical journal for acupuncture in the U.S. I think that article was published in 2010, way, way back. And I talked about, here's the logic of the holistic system that almost no doctor's been exposed to. Yes, we get and hear about acupuncture. Yes, doctors have come across this thing called acupuncture, but for the most part, right, nobody's talked to them about the logic of the system. Certainly nobody has brought into any discussion any level of pattern discrimination. You and I, if you're watching this and you're a professional and you know what you're doing, you and I know you can do acupuncture symptomatically just fine, and pattern discrimination certainly isn't necessary for good quality acupuncture. But it does demonstrate and it does shoot down one of the big, big obstacles to their acceptance of what you do and what you provide and what you're there to talk about, which is there or is there not a logic to the holistic system? When you provide the logic of pattern discrimination and teach them, okay, we diagnose and treat according to patterns, what you've done, what you've given them is a big, big answer to one of what for them is the major stumbling block. Remember, all doctors are trained in medical school a certain way. They're basically cut out of the same cloth, and it's very important that they see that there is a logic to the holistic system. You are, whether you like it or not, lumped in with every other New Age idiot who ever picked up any kind of training, everything from pendulums to crystals to energy healing to every kind of fruit and nut kind of practice that has ever existed. I'm not even saying anything bad about those things. We all know that the mind has very curious powers, and people believing in strange shamanic kind of ritualistic practices and even prayer, right? Prayer by itself is maybe the best known example in our culture in a mainstream kind of level of the way that people help themselves simply by, right, convincing their mind that things are better and that we're on the mend. So there's nothing wrong with those practices, but doctors are trained that medicine needs to go beyond that. And you need to show that the holistic system extends beyond positive thinking. So that's why I put this article template in here. I have a short description of it, and then I have the article itself. Download these two and look at, and I hope you really get this. This is where I can't help you past a certain point. If you're a person who can't read and you can't think and you can't actually sit and work on your own, well, gee, maybe you're not in the right place. But I doubt you would have gotten very far in medicine if you don't have that capability. Look at the article, look at the structure, look at the logic, look at what I'm saying to them and in what order I'm saying it. Okay, just like in the video template, there is an order and a method to how you need to roll this out. You can't start anywhere. You need to start with what they care about and lead them on to what they need to know about that they may not even know to ask you about. Okay? Module number, what are we up to? 4, the business of mainstream practice. Do's and don'ts of structuring any business agreement with a hospital or mainstream clinical setting. By God, don't get this one wrong. If you get hired, if they want to hire you and bring in your services and you get hired as a, like you're there to be paid on a grant or something ridiculous like this, believe me, you've just shot yourself in the foot. Actually, you just shot yourself in the head. Because what's going to happen, obviously, the grants run out. You need to offer value and then set up your business in a way where there's no possibility that anybody's going to have control over you. You need to be structured in a way that allows you to do your best work without being shut down, without being hamstrung or handcuffed by an administrator, by administrators who feel like they know what's best and how to, they want to put you in a parking lot, trailer somewhere across the way. They tried to do this with us at Mercy when we first talked and negotiated, and we said, if we're not in the main building, we're not going to do this. And that was the thing that really brought us in. But beyond that, right, I structured the business agreement in such a way that even though the Mercy thing was fairly short-lived, I walked away from it for reasons that I won't go into here, but it was clear that there was a business opportunity and that you're going to see more of that. We had every opportunity to do it. If I had stayed in Chicago, we could have possibly even franchised it into different hospitals because of the way I set the business up first. If you don't know about this, if you haven't thought about this, and they offer to hire you, and you accept terms that are not on your best interest, you're sunk. I guarantee it. You'll be miserable, actually. You may stay, because a lot of people feel like the prestige of being in a hospital is somehow a good thing to do. I thought the level of aggravation from, again, political correct kind of behavior and having somebody have their thumb on me and having to behave a certain way, right, because they hired you and they get to tell you what to do was a bad idea. So I nipped that in the bud ahead of time. You need to know how to do that. And then, wonderful, wonderful tip, brain dead's dirt simple trick to maximizing insurance revenue, okay? There is a way to get paid. Whenever you're working with mainstream people, there's a way to get paid whether or not insurance is covering acupuncture. You can double, triple your revenue. You can have massive difference in the total revenue that you're able to bring in simply by knowing this trick. Okay, it's so dirt dumb simple you're not going to believe it when you read it, except that it makes total sense that this is exactly how acupuncture should be done. And until it's completely accepted all across the healthcare spectrum, based on the value that it adds and what it does for people, you need to know this trick, because you may be listening to this and watching this and working in an area where your insurance providers do not cover acupuncture. That's still the normal thing, even though that's changing bit by bit, depending on when you see this and when you come across this material. It may be different for you, but you need to know that, okay? Read it. The Brain Dead Dirt Simple Trick to Maximizing Insurance Revenue, even if insurance providers in your area do not cover acupuncture. How's that possible? Well, when you read it, you'll know, okay? And then I have a very special bonus for you. This is really wonderful. Dr. Rafford, again, in his generosity, allowed me to include also the Bridging the Chasm. This was the first work that I did. It also is about an hour lecture, audio podcast of me going through the book. You get the book Bridging the Chasm as a PDF download, and you can go through these 70, 80 pages or so, whatever it came out to be, I can't remember now, where Dr. Rafford and I are in collaboration talking about the most important things that you need to cover, how to talk about placebo, what's the hit on brain chemistry, what's the latest research. This is, again, this is a primer that also really accompanies and helps you in presenting your value to hospitals, to doctors, to CEOs of mainstream kind of settings and clinics, but also that this complements very much the material that I'm giving you in Module 1 in the video template demonstration. Bridging the Chasm is a gold mine. Okay, if you haven't come across this, it's been available for a number of years. It was the first thing I did in collaboration with an MD, in this case Dr. Rafford, and putting this material out for the people who found it, it really changed the game. Okay, and nothing like this exists that I'm aware of, where a doctor and a licensed acupuncturist have collaborated based on experience. You understand? There's no fluff, there's no motivational, rah-rah, let's go get six-figure income, any of that stuff. That all comes later. Your job first is to provide value. And once you see what's in here, and once you see what I've put together, and then the short section that Dr. Rafford did to really boil down, but here's what doctors care about. Here's, again, another hit in print about what matters to physicians when you come across them or when you're on their radar screen as somebody who's potentially worthy of being hired and worthy of collaboration and worthy of their referrals. How do you not blow that, right? How do you actually end up being the person that they trust? Okay, so that's a bonus module for you here. I promised I would give it to you if you're coming to this material from the from any source, right? That bonus is included here on the membership site. I know you're going to love this program. I put a ton of work and a number of years into it. This was a real joy for me to make this. You know, all the years I was traveling and speaking and meeting with doctors and coming up with this material, I felt very privileged to have a chance to do this, and I knew at the time that it was going to be worth a lot of value to a lot of people in our industry just to come across this. Okay? Thanks very much. That's what I have for you. Welcome. Congratulations again. Get to work. Send your questions to me here on the welcome screen. I will get to those, okay, and maybe we'll even organize a group call depending on how many people are busy going through this material at the same time. But let me know how I can help you, and thanks again.